scouting report was so good. Now I'm really
I'm open.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Let's scout again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, you ready to roll?
Yeah, whenever you are, Captain.
All right. Well, let's get started. I got my girl, Paris Johnson, highly decorated high school player in San Diego, went on to be a highly decorated college player, went on to play professionally, and then has now been heavily involved in college at two Division I schools. So I'm super excited to talk to you. I believe your story and your journey is it's a couple things. It's inspirational. It's a journey that I'm sure a lot of these athletes in our area would like to take. And it's a path that they could learn from. And, I talked to Sarah Porter not too long ago, and she just really, was able to talk to some things that a lot of kids don't necessarily see. Sometimes the downside of the recruiting process and the transfer process and, kind of what happens when your coach leaves. So the feedback was good. And then having the opportunity to talk to you, I think is kind of in that same realm of just someone who's, went down the path that a lot of these kids want to go down. So I think, like I said, your story will be something that a lot of people can learn from. So I always like to start at the beginning. So, when is your first your first real memories of kind of falling in love with the game begin for you?
Oh my gosh. It has been, I was probably about 9 years old, fourth grade, new to Oakland, California. I had moved there, leaving Seattle, Washington, and moved with my father, and then went to elementary school in Alameda. And I remember just watching my older brother play. So my older brother played at Alameda High, which Alameda High you're familiar with.
Right, got my coaching career started there.
So I just remember growing up, elementary, middle school, following my older brother around, like, oh my gosh, he's great. He's great at basketball. I want to be just like him, meaning like I want to dunk like him. My brother was super athletic, can jump out of the gym, just ridiculous. So fourth grade, I had a best friend, and she kind of introduced me to sports, mainly basketball. So I started playing for club teams. The Boys and Girls Club, got heavily involved in that. And then it just went on to the AAU circuit of Alameda Select that I played with. I played in middle school at Wood Middle School. And then it continued there.
I went to Wood.
The Beavers. So yeah, that was my first memory of just wanting to be so active and play basketball. Sports period was a huge part of my life. I played flag football. I did volleyball. I played softball, a little bit of everything besides track. Wasn't really a runner, didn't like to run, although the sports I did play required some running, but track is a different running. So didn't try that, Definitely. But yeah. Basketball was early. It was in my life early.
When did you end up moving to San Diego?
Oh man, I was entering into my freshman year of high school. So I just got out of middle school, 8th grade, moved here with my mother and stepfather, and started high school at San Diego High as a freshman.
And then did you know anybody before you got here, or you just ended up at Dago?
I just ended up at Dago. So funny story. I think I was actually supposed to go to the Bishops. So my stepdad and my mom was trying to figure out what school I should go into, what was in my district. At the time, I believe I was in the middle of Hoover and San Diego High. But then just looking at the Bishops for academics and whatnot, that was another option. But yep, I ended up at San Diego High. Didn't know anyone here in San Diego, not a lick. So it just happened. I popped up on campus, and the rest was history once I met Marlon.
So that's that. See, I didn't realize that. So you had no idea what you were kind of getting into, and unbeknownst to you, you were coming into a powerhouse and you had no idea.
No idea. Absolutely no recollection of just what I was going into. Marlon Wells building his legacy at San Diego High, coming in just as Sade Houston was leaving. So yeah, I had no clue. But I fell into it at the perfect time. And it was a good foundation for me to really pursue basketball as a career.
So before you got to San Diego, how serious were you? I know you said you had played some club stuff in Alameda. So were you coming here like really serious about basketball, really focused on it?
Honestly, not really. Before I arrived here, I know my dad would talk to me about sports. He coached me at a club level as well too. And the whole plan was for me to stay in Alameda, go to Oakland Tech, then eventually end up at Cal. That was his dream for me. But things obviously changed. And I don't think it was as serious as some people were portraying it to be for me until I got to San Diego High and met Marlon and then started that process and entered into this powerhouse high school. And then it became serious. Yes.
So when you're first getting there, you're a freshman. How's that first interaction like with the team, with Coach Marlon? I'm sure, anybody who's ever met him, he can be intimidating when at first glance. So kind of how was that first interaction meeting? And again, this is a program that's, that you said just coming off the heels of Sade. I've heard the stories about how, packed the gym was and the crowd. So I guess I'm asking, like, was it intimidating at all for you coming in as a freshman?
Very intimidating. I mean, I'm new to San Diego, period, right? I'm new to a whole entire high school. I'm a freshman. I don't know anything about high school. I'm just going in like a deer in headlights. I'm one of the tallest kids, male or female, on campus. So that just attracts attention. So yeah, I am nervous. It's intimidating. And then being on the court, I was kind of used to playing with high school kids. As a 8th grader, I started to play with the high school kids at Alameda. So I was kind of introduced to it for a little bit. And getting to San Diego High, I would say it was very intimidating. Knowing who Sade Houston was, then getting on the court and playing against her, it was very intimidating. Playing with the older girls there, it was intimidating. And it's obviously new when you're the new kid coming into a sports team. People like, oh, she's not coming in to take my spot. Oh, it gets to be that back and forth pettiness, I would say. So I had a lot of experience with that. And it was tough. My freshman year was really, really tough because the people there, the ladies there had a foundation, their team. They know each other, they're comfortable with each other. So now I'm just entering to a new realm. But luckily I had friends that were in my grade that I kind of grew up with in basketball and stuck with them. But yeah, it was intimidating.
So what helped you to get comfortable in terms of, that getting past that initial intimidation factor, and what kind of maybe put you at ease or made that transition, start to make it more comfortable?
I think just the confidence Marlon Wells instilled in me. I think he saw something special in me and held me to a high standard and put me in situations so I can grow mentally and physically. I think that was a comfortable state because I was used to being pushed, being hard on because I had a father who pushed me on the court, off the court, in the classroom. I had a mother that pushed me the same way. I just had friends, like the support system. I think it was just a comfortable zone that I was in. I was used to it because I was always the tallest. I was always the best on the teams, but coming into a school that was already established, a team that was already established, I still had the confidence that, okay, I know my skill set. I know it's not the best, but I know what I can lean on to grow and get better. So it just made it easier as a transition.
Where was your skill level at in terms of your game? Like, how would you describe, freshman Paris Johnson in terms of a player?
I loved defense. It was my favorite thing because I was so good at shot blocking because of my height. So I leaned on that, rebounding and shot blocking. That was my my number one and my number two. So I leaned on those things and just grew offensively for my skill set of being able to score around the basket and then obviously develop mid-range. But I just honed in on that, and my effort and my will and want to just to compete was something I really leaned on.
Where were you thinking about, at what point were you thinking about the next level? Was it early, or was it just you're just playing and, we'll kind of see? Because I'm thinking, with your size and skill level, even at a young age, you probably already started to attract some attention.
Yeah, that was a thing. I mean, Sade was the one attracting all the attention at the time. So it gave me the opportunity to be seen by college coaches. So that's when I got serious. Understanding leadership. Go ahead.
Your freshman year was her senior year?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So just the leadership of Marlon and explaining, the level, college level, and what the recruiting process looks like. That helped me become serious about it and understanding that, okay, I'm going to get seen by a lot of coaches just because of who he is and who Sade was at the time. And just our team was great at the time. So it attracted a lot of attention. So he always let me know, like, hey, this is going to be your sport. You have potential to go to play at the next level. And I want to help you develop so you can succeed at that next level. So
I've heard stories about that her senior year, a lot of stories from Marlon, a lot of stories from Lonnie. What kind of things do you remember about that year? It's almost like from what I hear, from what I was told, it's almost like, you guys were like rock stars in terms of, selling out gyms and people coming from everywhere. And like he always told me, Sade had her own Adidas. And tell me about how crazy that freshman year was for you.
It was pretty surreal. I would say our high school games were compared to like college level teams. I recently had a conversation with a few people and they, we talked about like how great Friday night games were. Our gyms were packed, our fans were supportive, and it just felt like an experience that a lot of kids in high school wouldn't experience because San Diego High was that school. We were it in both men and women's basketball. So it was just wild to be a part of it. Sometimes I'm looking back like, wow, we really sold out games, or our gyms were packed and we were the people in San Diego. Like we were kind of famous. At the time, I didn't really think too much of it, but it was a cool experience to be a part of. Just remembering, everyone coming to support Sade, the coaches that would come into our practices, and it's just like, whoa, this is real. And I love it and I want to be a part of it. And I want to have, my own legacy when she leaves, to have set a foundation to continue the legacy of San Diego High and to continue her legacy and Marlon Wells' legacy there. So it was pretty awesome. I would say I know it's not like that now, but if I were to go back in time and do it all over again, I absolutely would.
And how did that season end? Refresh my memory.
My freshman year? Oh gosh. We made it all the way to state champions.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Sacramento, and played against Oakland Tech.
That's what I remember. Okay.
Ballers. It was a great ride that whole entire season leading up to it. We could have won it, but it was a good experience because we played in the Kings Arena, like
Arco.
That's amazing. Yeah, so it was tough. It was we got there, we left it all on the floor, but it definitely was tough for me as a freshman because I love to succeed, and I feel like I had failed because we didn't win. And I remember crying after the game. There's actually a picture in the newspaper of me just bawling my eyes out. But no, it was a good ride. It's all about the experience and just being a freshman and going through that. It's unforgettable.
So a couple things on that. I'm thinking like you probably at the time you probably didn't realize it, but I'm guessing that playing in front of those crowds, getting that far as a freshman probably gave you a level of confidence that a lot of kids probably wouldn't have had in terms of just, like I said, the pressure of playing in those environments and then going it all the way and playing in front of those coaches. I'm sure it gave you some confidence early that you probably didn't realize at the time that you had.
Didn't even realize it. Yeah. I mean, just playing in CIF here, at San Diego State, USD, those games were sold out for the CIF championships. And I actually recently watched one of my high school games as a junior not too long ago. And I didn't realize like, whoa, we're filling up like this college arena. And watching myself back, it seemed so natural to me. I didn't look like I had nerves. I just played my game. And yeah, I think having so much attention definitely helped me grow in the aspect of being able to step on a court and being calm in any environment, no matter who was on the court, who was in the gym. It definitely helped because once I got to the college level, my freshman year, we played against UConn. So that was also surreal. But to me, it was a normal game. I didn't care who they were. It was a normal game to me. And I wanted to step up to the challenge. So yeah, that definitely prepared me.
And on the other side, I have to think having that kind of success early, you maybe kind of get spoiled thinking we'll be back every year. We're going to, we'll win the state championship next year. We're always going to. So did you feel that in terms of, because I've always said, my first year coaching in San Diego, we got to CIF and I haven't been close since. And it's like, you realize when you have that success early, you take for granted how easy it is. So did you kind of feel like, you said you were emotional about losing, but was there some part of you that thought, okay, well, we'll win state next year, no big deal?
Yeah, it definitely thought that we could go all the way every year, and because we worked so hard, our team, we grinded so much, and we developed that instinct of like, okay, we got this. We already been there before, so we know what to do. Let's just keep moving forward. Let's not take any steps backwards. But I know my sophomore year, we made it to the CIF and we lost against Carlsbad, I believe. So that was a little blow. And then the next year we went back and then won it. And then my senior year, which is a whole different story because Marlon Wells wasn't there at the time. I still felt like we could make it all the way, but we ended up losing to Eastlake in the semifinals before getting to CIF. So that was a really blow because I wanted to win at least my senior year. Because I went through a lot of trials during my senior year prior to even getting to my senior year. So that was a heartbreak, but I believed in myself. I believed in my team every year from, the beginning of the season. And, sometimes things don't go our way, but that's okay. It's just continue to move forward and not fall back and think, okay, we failed. Failure and success is determined by ourselves and not what the outcome is or what society and the world says. So
totally agree. So I want to go back a little bit. I like to talk about the process. And for me, that first year, especially for somebody like you that had, a really good freshman season, and you're going into that first club season after, your freshman season, what kind of things did you experience on that first summer club after your freshman year in terms of, that's always a big year in terms of the recruiting process, the expansion of your game. So talk about that first year after your freshman season in terms of the club stuff.
Season. That's so long ago. Let me see if I can even remember. I just remember we just attracted a lot of attention. I know for the women's side for EBO, it was brand new. There was the men's side of EBO. Marlon was running the girls' side. So I believe it was freshly established. So we still attracted some attention, had a bunch of college coaches coming to our games. I think just at that time, there were a lot of great players in California, a lot of great teams in the West Coast, period. So whenever we would play games, we attracted a lot of attention. And for me, I think it was just fun because I was confident in myself and our team and our skill set that we went out and had fun. And we didn't let the outside distract us. I know there can be a lot of distractions in AAU basketball. I see it now today. I've seen it as a coach and as a player. But I don't think I ever lost sight of what I wanted to do when I stepped on that court. When it was game time, I just had fun putting on a show for people, but doing it in my own way. And it was great.
At that time, I mean, you've already talked about kind of what your team goals were in terms of winning. Obviously you wanted to win, but do you remember setting any individual goals in terms of maybe a level of school you wanted to play at, All-American, All-State? Was any of those kind of things kind of motivating you at all?
Honestly, no, not that first year in AAU. I don't think I really set too many goals for myself. I just wanted to play. I didn't want to get caught up thinking about what school I wanted to go to. I mean, let's see, it might've been my freshman year. I verbally committed to UCLA because it was a school that I enjoyed. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Funny story. And then I basically got out of my commitment. I mean, it's verbal. And I know that's deemed as this is a commitment, you take it, or coaches really, want it. But in my mind, I'm like, well, I didn't sign anything. It's early in my season.
Very young.
Yes, very, very young. And I don't know, I can't remember if I even had any guidance of it. I don't want to say I did or didn't because it's my memory is foggy about it, but I definitely remember committing to UCLA and then getting out of it. And KO was so mad at me. And then I went on. But the pressures of, McDonald's All-American, I think maybe my junior year, I started to feel like, okay, I want to be a McDonald's All-American. I don't think I set the goal of being player of the year, which I ended up getting my junior year. I just wanted to win. I wanted to have fun doing it, do it the right way, and then just enjoy the experience. I didn't want the pressure of being recruited. It's a lot. It's a lot of pressure. And I think I handled it pretty well. I had a bunch of schools that were recruiting me. I didn't set a limit to where I wanted to go because I just wanted to see what was out there and try to experience whatever I could just to make a sound decision. And then when that time came, eventually a lot of schools stopped recruiting me because I got into a car accident and they thought I wasn't going to play anymore. So I did set that limit of, okay, here's my top 3 schools. Here's why, and then kind of go from there.
So I heard the story before in terms of the car accident. And if you don't mind, can you kind of share kind of what happened in terms of how it, like you said, you touched on it, impacted your recruiting, but can you kind of walk me through kind of what happened? And basically what I'm really interested in is your mindset at the time and in terms of maybe schools cooling off on you and how you dealt with that.
That's a tough story to talk about. I was, young in high school and was dating one of the most popular dudes in school. Got into a relationship with this guy and it became toxic, abusive mentally. And I was in the car with him that day and I tried to break up with him that morning and he wasn't having it. So he showed up at my house. We got into an argument, got into an altercation. I jumped in the car with him and he starts racing down the street, flying through red lights. And I'm sitting there basically terrified for my life. And getting on the freeway, he tries to go for my phone and that's what he tended to do. He would always check on me. What guys am I talking to? Let me see your phone. And once he tried to grab my phone, he lost control of the car and spun out and hit the median twice. But it hit on my side and I immediately noticed my leg. Something was wrong with my leg. So, it was a strange time. Very awkward.
What year was this again? What grade were you in?
I was going into my senior year. So just before the main circuit of AAU in July. Okay. Right. July is that huge recruiting month for high school. And I knew right then and there I wasn't going to play. So I picked up the phone, and dialed Marlon's number, knowing I wouldn't play. That was the first initial thought was like, crap, let me call Marlon and tell him I can't play in these tournaments.
How scared are you at that point, dialing those numbers?
Terrified.
I'm scared for you. Just thinking about the story, I'm scared for you making that. And I've also heard about your mom. So between Marlon and your mom, I can't imagine how scared you were.
Right. So if you've heard those stories about my mother, you already know. So just terrified because I'm like, oh shoot, he's about to go off on me. And it's just going to be all bad. So I dialed his number and it rang maybe once and I immediately hung up because I felt not because I was scared, but because I felt too much pain in my legs. And I was like, you know what? This is not even the time. Basketball is out of my mind. It does not matter right now. I need to focus on me in this moment. So I pick up the phone and call my mom and tell her I'm in an accident. She doesn't believe me. And I'm telling her, this is very true. This is where I'm at. It was just chaos kind of. I was trying to stay calm. My boyfriend at the time was panicked. We're all just outside yelling at people driving past, yelling at the cops. It was just ridiculous. So they ended up pulling me out the car and rushed me to the hospital. And I don't go into surgery right away. They had to realign my leg, which was so painful. And then I spent the night just propped up in this machine or contraption to keep my leg elevated, and it leveled where the break was so I can go into surgery the next day. So yeah, that time was it was a tough time. I'm 17, 16 years old. I'm young. Basketball is my focal point, and now I'm just lost. Don't know if I'm going to play again. Depressed. It
You're
was
still
one of
dealing with the boyfriend stuff?
still dealing with the boyfriend stuff because that's just a whole situation. And I don't know what to do at this point. I'm hurting. I'm in pain. My mind is everywhere. Confused. Just completely at a loss for words. And I can't remember what exactly clicked. But I remember just thinking, okay, before school starts in September, I want to be able to walk without crutches. So that was my goal. I set that. And September rolls around. I'm still in pain. I'm walking on campus with one crutch. I don't want to walk around, look defeated. And I knew God wouldn't bring me through this situation to leave me where I was. So I give him praises all the time, because going through something like that at that age is huge. It's a huge moment in my life that has steered me in a direction of where I am now, the woman I am today, and to talk about this and help mentor and minister to young women, because it's real. We all go through things. We all have our stories. And when I share mine, I know it can impact someone. And then it just trickles down. So, yep, I came out of that in my own words as a champion. Obviously, I didn't win a championship there, but in the kingdom of God, I won a championship, because I walked through that situation stronger, better, and confident in who I was and who I could become. So, let me see, probably getting ready to sign to a college. A lot of teams stopped recruiting me because there was rumors going around saying that I broke my neck, broke my back, broke my shoulders. I'm just broken, right? And once they get wins, instead of coming to me directly, having conversations, they just stop recruiting me. The main schools that stuck with me was San Diego State, Baylor, and the University of Florida. And those are three great schools in my mind. San Diego State, I was always around because my older sister played. So I got to know Coach Beth Burns very well. And then Baylor, because I had a friend that played with me in AAU, Jessica Bradley. I wanted to go there to be with her. And I saw, what she went through at that school. And then Florida was just, it was closer to my parents at the time. My mom and my stepdad moved away my stepdad was in the Navy at the time. So they moved to Florida. So that's why I picked Florida, just to be closer to them as well. But yeah, in the end, I signed with San Diego State, and it was a great career choice for me, because I was the hometown kid. I went through a tragedy, but came out triumphant, and did so many things. So I wouldn't change that decision. It was solid for me because I did it the right way. I built a relationship with the head coach, not just the assistants. I got to know the players and really paid attention to their team and their success and where they could be and who I could be once I got there to help a team in a program succeed. So yeah, the rest was history.
So at what point did you commit in terms of like where you were with the injury to San Diego State?
Oh man.
Was it before your senior year? Before the season started?
It was during my senior year. Yeah, okay. It was during my senior year. So
you got better?
Yeah, not barely. No, I played hurt. I wasn't fully healed. I kind of my stubbornness came into play. I wanted to play my senior year in high school. I wanted to win another championship. I wanted to get player of the year again. I wanted to do everything I did in the past. And that determination just pushed me past my pain. I was always in pain every day. I would be iced up, or I would have to sit out of practice just to play in a game the next day because I tried to push myself too much, that I was in serious pain. But I didn't let it stop me. I never wanted to miss a game. So I just continued to push myself. And then the signing period, November, that's when I committed to San Diego State. So I was still hurt. The coaches knew that. They knew I wasn't fully recovered. And once I got to San Diego State, I still was playing in pain my whole freshman year, which was also something else I had to go through. Freshman year, constantly in pain in practice after games, constantly in the training room, getting treatment, getting ice. And then once my freshman year was over, I ended up getting surgery again to remove a screw that was in my hip. So I had a lot of pain in my hip, and I think the screw was just a little too big. So it was grinding, just causing a lot of pain. So I got that removed. And once I got that removed, the pain subsided just a little bit. So I still had some pain every now and then, just soreness, and that's normal. My bone is trying to heal still. My body's trying to heal. And, just being able to get healthy and build those muscles around my bone, it's going to be a process, or it was a process.
So you did 4 years at San Diego State, which sadly is odd nowadays because, the way coaches leave, the way kids sometimes get sold a bag of goods and they're not happy. So it seems like you did a lot of research in terms of not just picking a school, but you really got to know what you were getting into. Would you say that's true in terms of like how you handled the recruiting process? And it doesn't seem like it was something that you took lightly.
No, yeah, I wanted to be a part of a program that was building. I didn't want to get to a program that was already built. I wanted to leave my mark, my stamp, my legacy. And San Diego State was that school, basically being a hometown kid. They're a homeschool. It wasn't at that level at that time. Beth Burns had just got there for her second stint. The years prior, they were 3-20, 3-21 when my sister was playing. But something about it just was so intriguing, just the way they spoke to me and saw something in me. And when I was, getting ready to commit, it was only going to be two of us, two freshmen. So it wasn't a huge class, which is great because, hey, we're coming in as a small class. There's a chance we're both going to play. There's a chance, we're going to make our mark in this. And that's exactly what happened. I started every single game of my freshman year, which is very rare in this world of college coaching.
Especially coming off an injury still.
Especially coming off an injury. I sometimes just get lost in thinking like my story is really wonderful. I forget it because I don't like talking about myself. I really don't, but I know when I talk about it in this light, it's an insight. It's just my experience so it can help someone else. But yeah, I did my research, my homework. I'm constantly engaged at San Diego State because it's right up the street from my house. I can go there whenever I want. I can watch all the games. I'm studying it. I'm seeing it grow right before my eyes. And I think it's kind of cool. I just wanted to stay home and be the home kids stay. Everyone else left, Sharday Houston left, Candace Wiggins, everyone leaves, right? Why not stay here and help build, and I love that. I love to build. I love to transform things and make them great, and leave my stamp on it. And it was a great choice. And I'm so proud of my decision and my walk through it all. My process was ridiculous, but I look back and I'm like, man, you did that.
How did the freshman season end? How'd you guys do?
Oh my goodness.
Because I know you guys went to the tournament twice. When did you guys go to the tournament?
2009, we went to the NCAA tournament. We hosted it at San Diego State, played DePaul the first round. Second round, we played Stanford and lost. So my freshman year was pretty solid. Did some good things. Sophomore year I believe we actually beat Texas in our tournament, our surf and slam tournament. They were ranked 5. At the time. So that right there was just surreal. I remember everyone storming the court, but they're, University of Texas, they're ranked number 5 and they come to our home and we beat them. It was wonderful. And side note, I'm actually 3-0 against Texas.
Nice.
Yes. 2 as a player, 1 as a coach. Nice. So moving forward, 2010, we win our conference and then get to the NCAA again. Won the first 2 rounds, It was in Memphis, Tennessee. Nope, it was in Austin, Texas. Played University of Texas again, beat them, and then West Virginia, and then Sweet 16. It's in Memphis, Tennessee. We played Duke, and I believe we only lost that game 6 points. It was only a 6-point loss, so we could have won that game too. But yeah, that experience was ridiculous.
I want to know what, if you remember, what it felt like getting ready for that first NCAA tournament game. I can't imagine.
Ooh, geez. It was, for me, it was a little different because in 2009, when we got to the tournament, the championship game, I tore my shoulder, in that game, went back to the locker room, got it wrapped up and came back out. So I was going into the NCAA tournament with an injury already. But that just fueled me even more. I didn't want to not play. So obviously my stubbornness, I'm going to push past all the pain or whatnot. But I think the adrenaline, it fed me like kind of like an addiction. Like I want it. I want to be on the court, right? I want to win. I want to play these games. It's the NCAA tournament. People dream of getting here. We have a chance. It's on our home floor. What more could you ask for? So that game was really fun, playing against DePaul. It was tough, but it was fun. And then winning it was just icing on the cake.
What kind of things I've heard, I've met Coach Burns a couple of times, and obviously heard, so many stories and, people being complimentary. What kind of things do you remember about your time there that kind of stuck with you in terms of, not necessarily as a player, but, maybe further on in life and maybe that you took into when you got into coaching and mentoring kids?
Oh, man. I think it was just that relationship building. You want to build a solid relationship off the court, because you get the best on the court when that relationship is built. You're able to have these conversations off the court, so it translates on the court. But for me, I think she just instilled a lot of positivity in my life, so I can take on to my future of college coaching, just being a genuine person, and treating people kindly. It was determination. I built that from Marlon Wells. He instilled it in me as a high school player, and then it just translated into college. And then having a coach like Beth, she saw something in me that I didn't see in myself at the time, because now I look back and her pushing me helps me minister and mentor and coach the young women I come into contact with now, because all it takes is that effort and something special inside of a player that not everyone can see. But when you're able to build confidence, that's huge. And in someone, you get the best from them. And she built that confidence in me. And I gave her all I could. I would run through a wall for her on the court. And, in my life, that's just what I lean on, is the confidence I have and who I am, my abilities. And then I give that back to those I come into contact with.
So over the course of your college career, as it's starting to wind down, are you thinking about playing professionally? When does that start to cross your mind?
I mean, that crossed my mind early on. I wanted to make it all the way. I wanted to play in the WNBA, and have a solid career in it. So, yep, getting to college, that was my goal, was to make it there and succeed. And once senior season ended and the draft is coming up, I'm excited because I feel like I put in the work to get there, and we're all in the coach's office watching the draft. I see my name pop up on best available, and that's surreal watching that, seeing my face on the screen. And then when my name obviously didn't get called, it was heartbreaking. It definitely was, because it was a dream of mine. And I felt defeated that I walked out and just went to the bathroom and just cried, because I felt like, why not me? Why couldn't it have been me? So what was the problem? What was wrong with me, right? I'm saying all these things like me, but in the end, it has nothing to do with me. It not making it to the WNBA. It's not, let me see how do I say it. It's not the success that I wanted anyways. I know people say, oh, that's where you got to go. If I don't get there, I felt like people didn't deem me as successful. Right. But then I'm putting my success into other people's hands. And I realized that once I started playing overseas, I'm like, I'm still playing. I still have a career. I'm still successful in my own way. So I didn't lean on what everyone else was saying. I felt like a lot of people had forgotten about me because I didn't make it to the WNBA. I leave San Diego and go off to play in different countries, and I lose friends. I lose people that I thought I was close to, but it was good because now I know who's going to roll with me, who's supporting me. And we're not meant to have a billion friends. We're not meant to know a billion people because those relationships aren't genuine. So I really found that I had a small circle of genuine people because they still supported me. Just because I didn't make it to the WNBA, I still had people backing me up. So that was nice.
So when you're going through that process, were you in contact with teams leading up to the draft? Because I know that sometimes they're reaching out, they're talking to maybe your coaches, and that's where you kind of get that. I mean, and you mentioned you're on the best available, so obviously your name is out there. Did that add to maybe the anticipation and then the eventual, bit of a letdown you had?
You know what? I can't remember because I'm not directly in contact with them. Agents are reaching out to my coaches and stuff like that. So I can't be directly in contact with them because I'm still a senior. So it was a little different. I didn't feel like I leaned on that more. Honestly, if I could remember, I don't ever really remember hearing of any teams really contacting and really wanting me. I just remember, seeing it on TV or seeing the mock drafts. The mock drafts come up with all kind of things. My name is in it. So that was really what I leaned on. Seeing that, it's, I can see it. It's tangible instead of hearsay. But I honestly really thought I would have been there and made it. So I definitely leaned on to the whole hype of it all.
And then when did you kind of when did you shift your focus of, okay, this has not happened, it's on to the next, where are we going?
So after my senior year, I went to some camps during the Final Four. They have, it's like a WNBA draft camp. Agencies are there. So I'm just going there, playing in front of agents. And just get picked up by an agency. And from there, things just took off. I started playing overseas, and that was just like, oh, this is great. I'm still playing. I have nothing to, be worried about or, be sad about because I'm not in the WNBA. I'm still playing. I get to travel the world and play a sport that I love and experience so many different things. So that helped shift my perspective of it. I was just enjoying what I was doing in that moment.
And what was the first country? Was it Poland?
Actually, it was Dubai, Abu Dhabi. So I went for a small tournament in the summer for like maybe 3 weeks. Flew out there, stayed in a hotel. Everything is paid for. Surreal moments and play, in a tournament. And it was fun. I had 2 other American teammates, got to know them. And then after that is when I went to Poland for a full season. I want to say around maybe August, October. Got to Poland. I ended up being on the same team with the same American that I played with in Dubai or Abu Dhabi. So that was really nice. So I knew her. She played at the University of Auburn. So it made the transition a little easier because I knew someone there familiar. So it helped. But that was a tough year. Going into Poland, being one of the undersized post players in the country, it was different because I was so used to being, one of the bigger, taller post players. And then coming in, I'm young, I'm playing against grown women who are bigger than me, better than me. And I had to quickly learn, all right, I got to transform my game. I can't just do the same things I was doing in college because it don't fly at this level. So did the necessary things I had to do. And I was pretty successful. It was tough. It was a very tough year for me. My first year for plenty of reasons. The language barrier, my coach didn't speak very good English. He was tough on me. The fans were brutal. If we didn't win, they're going to blame all the Americans. because we're deemed as, all right, we're bringing you in for a reason to help us win. And if you don't perform, yeah, we don't want you anymore, or let's send you home, or, it's brutal. It is very brutal.
I don't know if you remember, but that's the first time I met you. I was in, we were at Mira Mesa, and I think you had just come back from Poland, and you were going to go work out with Lonnie. And you were talking, I was talking to you about it, and you were kind of telling me how much of a challenge it was. And it was interesting to me because I had never really heard that side of it. It's funny because not too long after I talked to you, I had talked with Courtney Clemens, and she was kind of saying similar stories about, kind of the challenges that overseas presents. And then I always go back to the movie Love and Basketball. And how, she talks about the coach, she doesn't understand what the coach is saying, and she has somebody else kind of tell her what they said. So it's kind of like all brought it home. But I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand, is that while there's a lot of opportunities to play, to get paid to play, it's not as glamorous as one might think.
Yeah, it's a lot of people think it's easy. And it is not easy. It's just like any other job. If you don't perform, you can get fired at any point in time. We're battling against, different, obstacles. We're playing 2 a day, and not playing, we're practicing 2 a days. We get 1 day off. We're traveling on a bus for 15 hours. We're not flying. Now I say that to say, yes, there are teams that have everything, they're well taken care of. They fly, they got more days off. Those are the high level teams. Most of the WNBA players play at, get paid more. But the levels that I was playing at, it was difficult. It was very tough on my body, mentally and physically, because we're constantly battling against each other, and then have 1 day to rest. And we want to take that time to really rest our bodies, but also get some time to explore the city or the country that we're in. So it gets very tough, and you got to find that balance of taking care of your body in your own time. So after practices, what are you going to be doing in your apartment, in your house, to take care of your body? Get lots of rest, eat very well. And that's where I kind of transitioned my eating habits. I transformed my body because I knew I had to fuel my body right so I can continue to play at this level. But it's very tough. And especially for someone that looks like me, I'm an African-American woman. I'm going to some country. You're not going to see a lot of people that look like us. And you get the stares, and obviously you don't know what they're saying, or there's blogs or social media and they're talking about you. And it can be very disheartening if you fall into all the negativity that can come with it. But luckily I have a good head on my shoulders, did the necessary things to keep myself grounded, and just to continue to push forward and keep my eyes up.
How did the decision come for you to say, I don't want to do it anymore? How hard was that? How did you come to that decision? And how long before you were comfortable or okay with that decision?
Oh gosh. So it was 2016. I had just finished my career, my second stint in Poland. So I went my very first year, rookie year, then played some in other countries. And then my last season, I played in Poland again. So it was going through that transition of like, okay, I'm back home. I'm still working out. I'm trying to prepare for, overseas again, but I wasn't getting that call. So it's very tough. I mean, just like college athletics and the coaching and recruiting process, it's the same thing. We have an agent, but they got a ton of players that they're trying to place in different countries. They're going to try to place their high paid players first so they can get paid as well. So they're going to put all the WNBA players, they're going to place them over you. So it's hard. It's a waiting game. And that waiting game is terrible because now you're having all these negative thoughts flow into your mind. Like, am I going to get picked up? If I don't get picked up, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to stay here and find a job? Like, I don't want to do that. I'm in my mind, basketball is my main source of income, and it's my passion, and it's my dream to continue to play this game as long as I can. So it's not happening. I'm not hearing from my agent. And I get a random phone call from the head coach at San Diego State, Stacey Terry, and she reaches out and says, "Hey, we have an open position on staff, and we would really love to have alumni on staff. Would you be interested?" And I said, "Of course, it's my school, San Diego State." It was a great opportunity, and it fell in my lap at such a trying time. I'm like, what am I gonna do? What can I do? I have to start looking for a job. And then God does what he do. He just drops something in your lap, and then I have to run through that door. And I thought it was a good transition for me. I was playing overseas for a few years, and wear and tear in your body. And I'm starting to think about, okay, I kind of want to be home around my family now. I've been away from them for so long. I wanted to get back and be with them and watch my little niece grow up. Because when she was born, I saw her the day she was born. She went to the NICU. 7 days later, I flew out and she got out the hospital. So I didn't get to see her, right? So that's very important. It's always in my mind as a reminder. I've been away from her and my family for so long. When I come back home, it's only for a few months. I get to see people, trying to fit into my schedule, see my family, fly here, fly there to see relatives. So I was at that point like, okay, I'm getting a little older. I'm getting a little tired, and the opportunity to join the staff at San Diego State was a good opportunity for me to come home to San Diego and start a new career. So that transition was very hard. I thought I was okay not playing, and turns out I hated it. I wanted to continue playing, but luckily I still did. I got into leagues around San Diego, a league in Muni, a league in Claremont. And every Saturdays, I'm up the street at the college 24-hour fitness playing with guys every Saturday morning. That was how I fed my my love for the game. Just still playing. I didn't need to go overseas to make money because I can be here to still play and work out. And that was fun for me. I enjoyed it because I was still on staff, but I was still able just to feed my passion to play. But it was still tough. It was a hard transition because I have no idea what I'm getting into at that level on a coaching staff. And my first year was really hard to transition and move forward.
I want to ask you about something that I had heard about playing overseas. And it has to do with what roles looks play for the females in terms of teams. I had heard that unfortunately, I heard that is a factor in terms of, I don't want to say like selling it, but they're looking for a particular look. Is that something that you've ever experienced or you've heard about?
I have never experienced that. I don't know what particular look it is because I've played with all forms of looks, against and with. So for me, at least the places I played, I didn't think that was a thing. It's interesting because, you're all going to have some kind of hearsay about what potential teams or whatever, who's looking for what. So I can't say that is true. Not in my experience, at least.
That's good to hear. So when you're playing, I know you're actively playing, or you're still considering playing when you get the call to coach. Had you considered coaching before that? Is it something that had crossed your mind before?
Not at all. I never thought of coaching. I'm like, no, I never want to coach basketball. I just thought it was a tough career choice. I didn't want to deal with because I was a player and because I had teammates, we were tough to coach. We were knuckleheads.
I've heard that from Marlon. Marlon's told me stories about coaching you. Lonnie too.
Yes. We were knuckleheads, and not just at that level in high school. We were knuckleheads in college. It's the experience. It is. So we want to, experience the full life of college athletics and being a basketball player. But I knew there's no way I want to coach people like our team or not. I'm not necessarily saying it was negative or bad, but it's a lot to handle. You have 15, 17 young women that you're in charge of, plus your staff, plus everything else going on, plus the media. That's a lot of stress, at least for head coaches that I didn't want any parts of. So no, coaching was not in my mind until my second year as a player personnel on San Diego State. I realized, what? I think I can do this. I actually want to coach because I feel like I can give a lot to them, these young women that come in and out of programs. I have a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, and I want to help them succeed in life after basketball as well, because that's exactly what happened to me. I thought basketball would have been my whole entire life, and God had other plans. So walking in that light and trying to steer young women in the right direction was my main goal and what I wanted to do. Because my position at San Diego State, I wasn't a coach, so I couldn't do a lot of the things that I wanted to do. So
what kind of things did you do in your role? What does a player personnel do in college?
I was in charge of video, like cutting film for the coaches or getting film from other teams, scouting wise, like cutting things up, just film exchange, a lot of film stuff. And then in charge of social media. I was also in charge of the community outreach, so scheduling community service for the team, going out into the community, doing that sort of thing. But it was a lot of things outside of coaching. Nothing had to do with coaching. But luckily, I was able to sit in on meetings just to hear and grow. Stacey allowed me just to be a part of stuff so I can grow when that time came, if I decided I wanted to be a coach. And it prepared me because I knew right then and there, I was like, okay, I think I can actually do this and be an assistant. And then one morning, I think it was after our conference tournament, we lost our first game. And I stayed an extra night and just woke up at 4 a.m, and God shook me and he was like, I need you to coach, because you can give a lot of nuggets and gems and you can do it the right way. And that was the thing. I wanted to get into coaching to do it the right way, to lead by example, to lead with my faith at my focal point, because God has transformed my life completely and opened my eyes and revealed a lot into college coaching. And I wanted to be someone that can be placed in a program to help change the environment of coaching and to build those relationships with players and have a solid foundation as a staff. So that's what I did. And I immediately started reaching out and seeing what positions was open. And luckily Utah State had a position open and I wanted the opportunity. I had no plan of getting to this level of coaching or being in this city or states. I just wanted an opportunity. So it didn't matter where it was, what level it was. If someone was willing to take a chance on me, that's where I wanted to go. And Utah State was that first opportunity to become an assistant coach.
And how was that? So how long were you at Utah State?
Probably 8 or 9 months. Yeah, I got there during the summer and a few months, after the season, around May, I got a phone call from the University of Hawaii asking if I would like to be a part of their staff. So I'm getting phone calls that people want me. So it's like, whoa, I had no plans to leave Utah State. I wanted to stay as long as I could to learn as much as I could. And then eventually wherever God led me to, I would be ready for it. And I guess at that time he was like, all right, I got something else for you. Let's go ahead and make this happen. So got that call and then joined the University of Hawaii. And
you had spent time in Hawaii before that, right? As a youngster.
Yes, that is where I'm from. I was born there. I'm half Samoan and Black and white. So my mother is from there. My family is there. So that was something that was really intriguing to me, that I get to experience my home island. Because I left when I was really young. So I didn't get to experience it like my older siblings did. So it was closer to family. I had a little brother and he was there at the time. My stepdad, my mom was there. And then it was just an opportunity to, grow again on a new staff and have more responsibilities as an assistant coach that will help me just grow in that role. At Utah State, I didn't have too many responsibilities. I was new, but I did have a significant role of, helping these players and mentoring them. And that's what I love to do. That's what I wanted to do. And then getting to University of Hawaii, I had more responsibilities on my shoulders, being the defensive coach, which was amazing because I'm all about defense. That is my niche, my knack that I leaned on in college. So I wanted to be, great in that role. So I just grew having more responsibilities. But the University of Hawaii, being there, that I'm from there, it was such a great experience.
What kind of challenges did recruiting, or how did you take to recruiting? Did you enjoy it? Was it a challenge? Like, how did you feel about the recruiting aspect of it?
A little bit of both. I enjoyed it, but it was also a challenge. It's a lot to travel to different states and to different gyms and sit in gyms all day to, observe and watch basketball. I enjoyed it, but it was very tough. I know towards the end of my career at Utah State, I was struggling with it because I felt I was getting sick every time I left a tournament. I started to have migraines all the time, and I knew something just wasn't right. So I had to just go to the doctor and figure this out. And I explained, like, I'm in gyms all the time. I may not be eating the best thing because, we have to wake up early and go straight to the gym and sit in the gym all day. And being at my first year, I was trying to do what everybody else was doing, be in the gym all day. And I never wanted to walk out of the gym because I felt like, well, someone's going to think that I'm not doing my job, or it's going to get back to the head coach like, oh, she's not at the game she's supposed to be watching or whatnot. I didn't take care of myself health wise. I wasn't eating properly or getting enough sleep, and I started to feel the side effects, constantly sick, not feeling well. And I was like, okay, I have to find a different way to maneuver this. So once I got to Hawaii, I balanced it out better, started eating better. I would work out in the hotels before games to give me that energy, really being intentional of, okay, let me set a strict schedule of where, all right, I'm going to watch a few games. I don't necessarily have to sit there the whole entire game. I can see what I can see for a short amount of time with players, right? Now that I know, I can get a good evaluation in a short amount of time just to see, and then go on to the next game. Okay, here's my break. I'm going to go relax. I'm going to go refuel. I'm going to eat good, and then I'll come back and do it all over again. So it was a better balance, but it's still tough because we're traveling a lot. We're in so many gyms a lot. It's a hard thing to balance, and I did struggle with it.
The reason why I laughed is because we tell kids all the time that when you guys are watching, you guys know what you're looking for. So it's like, and what you said is so on point for what we tell them in terms of, you don't have to see that much. Like, you know what you're looking for, and when you see it, you see it. So right. This is what I want to transition to in terms of when let's say you walk in a gym and there's a kid that you want to like. So there's a kid on your list that you're coming to watch. If you could talk to them before the game and tell them, this is what I want to see, what kind of things would you tell them you want to see?
Oh my goodness. For me personally, I love a good teammate. And that
Wait a minute. You didn't start with get buckets, because that's what they all think.
I know.
You didn't start there.
I did not. Honestly, for me, it's not even about that, because all that stuff is just a bonus, right? We can't teach energy. We can't teach effort. We can't teach to be coachable. And
when you're watching the game, not to cut you off, but when you're watching the game, what particular do those things look like? So you said being a good teammate, being coachable. What does that look like when you're watching the game?
Energy on the bench, energy on the court, high-fiving, eye contact with your coach when they're talking, your demeanor on the court, the way you speak, the language. Are you using bad language? Or not being a good teammate, yelling at a teammate, or demeaning a teammate, or talking under your breath, or demeaning a referee because he made a bad call or she made a bad call. Because I say that because that was me. I would talk crap to the referees all the time because they picked on me because I was big. They called fouls on me all the time. And now that I'm able to say it like that, you can't change the referee's mind.
Never in the history of basketball have they done that.
You're just wasting your precious energy on stuff that you cannot control. So what can you control? Yourself, your actions. What are you doing as a teammate? And I love a good energy giver. I love teammates that are going to pick their teammate up when they have fell down, or pick a teammate up that is upset because, they had a turnover or didn't make a shot or something bad happened. If their head is dropped, hey, it's okay. Let me come, give you some love and encouragement. I'm all about that because positive energy it's it's people attract that. You want it. It gives people energy. It makes people feel good. But as soon as negative energy hits, it starts to pull people down. So I'm all about the energy and effort, being a good teammate, being that energy giver on the bench. If you're not starting, hey, come off the bench with that energy, right? Step onto the floor ready to play. Just little things like that. That's really huge for me. And then everything else, obviously, is skill stuff, but that can come. It's just a bonus. And I know every kid can't have everything. So we do pick and choose. Okay, if they do this very well, if they're a hustle player, oh, I want that kid. If they can hustle and dive for the ball or do any kind of hustle play, I love a good hustle player because it gives energy. It's energy.
So now the cynic will say, sure, you want all that, but they have to be able to play. The cynic will say, you don't want someone who can hustle and who can play hard, who's a good teammate, but they can't score. They can't play basketball. So how would you respond to that?
That's where we come in as coaches. We develop them. We have to be able to develop our kids. Everyone isn't going to have everything that, we want on a staff. So what are we willing to take and what are we willing to teach and develop? As a player, I wasn't the greatest shooter when I came into San Diego State. I developed that when I got there. And so if we have players that are good defenders, those are necessary things. Just like that, if they don't know how to play basketball, but they know how to defend, I'm going to take that too, because we need defense, right? You can't just win games by scoring and scoring. You got to be able to stop the other team. Or if a player isn't great at shooting, okay, what are they great at? Driving to the basket. Okay, we can develop everything else. That's the time we spend with our players is going to help them get better on the court. So if we're putting that energy and effort into developing our players, whatever they have, their weaknesses and strength, that's our job to help grow them, and not just leave them where they are or dismiss them because they don't have every skill set on, in the book. So yeah.
And then, part of your recruiting process is also interacting with, parents and or guardians or I guess also coaches, but like in terms of parents, what kind of things, again, the whole idea of this forum for me is to try to educate everybody. So what kind of things would you say are red flags from parents when maybe you're talking to them, or maybe even when you're recruiting a kid and you see their parents, maybe they're in the stands or again, conversations, because we always tell kids that too, and I know Coach Lonnie is famous for saying this too, is that when a kid is being recruited, they're also recruiting the parents. Right. So what are some things that maybe are some red flags that if you could give some parents advice of things maybe not to do, or some things that they should do to really help in terms of the recruitment process of their children?
Man, that's a juicy one. It's tough. I think my main thing would just be encourage your kids. If I'm walking past the stands and I hear parents fussing at their kids and trying to coach them from the sideline, that becomes an issue because they're going to look at you on the sideline instead of their coaches. And now they could be missing out on an assignment that their coach is trying to give them while they're on the court. But if they're constantly looking over their shoulder at you every single time, that's doing a disservice to your child and the player. And I would say that be encouraging during the games. Don't try to coach them up, because right now you're not the coach, you're a parent. And be a parent. Love on your children after the game, encourage them after the game, give them sound advice, but don't fuss at them. Don't, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Be a parent. Let the coaches coach. That's what you have put them on these teams for, to be coached, to, learn and grow under a coaching staff. Do what you can outside. If you have communication with the coaching staff and you're able to ask the coaches questions, okay, in your practices or your games, what are you specifically looking for from my child? If you get that information, then you can help coach them off the court. So when they get into those games, you don't have to say much. You're just there to encourage. I think that would just be my biggest thing, because I run into that now that I'm starting to coach AAU, that I'm trying to coach my player on the court and their parents are yelling at them on the sideline, and I can't get across what I'm trying to say to my player because they're now looking at you as a parent. So that just doesn't help anyone, honestly.
In your role as a, a coach and a mentor, knowing you like I know you, what kind of things have you been doing in terms of the climate that we're in right now as a country, especially being a woman of color? What kind of role or initiatives or anything you're doing in terms of, doing any kind of outreach or mentoring, young women that may be struggling or, trying to understand what's going on in kind of the world we live in right now?
Yeah, well, I haven't had too much going on. I just moved back to San Diego in January and trying to find myself again here. Now that I'm not coaching college basketball, it's a different transition for me, trying to figure out what I am passionate about, which I'm passionate about, like still mentorship, but training and also my faith and minister to kids. And so now that I'm starting to get involved into coaching high school AAU, I am just trying to be a sound voice for them because there isn't a lot of young women in this business of coaching high school or AAU. So giving them that example of, most of them don't know what I've done. So just having conversations with them of explaining my story to them. I think that's very powerful, of just talking about my story, where I've been, what I've done, so they can kind of get an idea of who I am. And then I'm able to build those relationships to start having conversations about what's going on in this world, or how the recruiting process is, or what can a player do to get to, the college level, or how to navigate the recruiting process. I think for me, it's just setting a foundation. And I think what I'm doing with my social media, I just recently got back on Instagram. I'm not a huge social media fan whatsoever. I really despise it. But at that level of coaching, I knew it was a tool to use for recruiting. So that's why I stayed on some platforms. With Instagram, I've been off for 5 years. So I just recently got back on, but it's more so to brand myself as a person, not just a coach. I'm a person that has tremendous love for my faith in God. So I portray that in everything I do. I want people to know who I am before they come to me as a mentor or a coach. And when I can do that and they know who I am, they know my foundation of faith, I'm able to connect with them in a different way and build those relationships and have conversations. And it opens up the door mainly to kids and parents, because they understand, okay, I'm doing this for the right reasons. I'm not doing this to be the most winningest coach. I'm not doing it to win championships. I'm not doing it to boost my stock as a coach. I'm doing it to help mentor and grow our youth. And I think it's important to start at the youth age, because their brains are sponge. They soak in everything. They see things on social media. They take hold of it. And if I'm able to portray good and kindness and compassion in everything that God instilled in me and his characteristics, I'm able to lead as a coach. If I can't lead as a coach in the right way, I'm not going to attract the players and parents I want and build a solid foundation. So that's who I am right now, just instilling that. I'm trying to get involved with the FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and it's also with coaches too. So I'm building that relationship with a director in the area and growing in that way, so I can help be a sound mind in the kingdom of God, because I'm so passionate about it. And I think we need more love in this world because there's so much darkness. So that's how I go about it. The way we treat people is the way we can change the world. So yep, that's all I'm here for.
So I was about to let you go, and then you brought up something else that I wanted to ask you about in terms of as a recruiter, is social media. And, again, this is something that as coaches, we talk to kids about. But what I've realized that I'm trying to better understand, that there's a huge disconnect the way, obviously you're younger than me, but you're definitely not from this generation of social media. But there's definitely a disconnect in the way we view it, in terms of it being the internet, in terms of like you're sharing your thoughts and your moments and all this stuff with the world. And it took me a while, but I realized that that's not how they view it. They don't really think of it as a big deal. I posted something, what's the big deal? That was just how I felt that day. But from a recruiting standpoint, of someone that, you know, coached at the D1 level, what factor does that stuff play in when you're recruiting a kid and you see the stuff that they're posting on social media? What kind of factor does that play a role in that recruiting process?
It's huge. It's what you portray on social media. If that's you, it's if you're not posting the right things, or we want to recruit great people, not just players. And if it's the negative content that you're posting, or if it's not, I don't know how to say it. It plays a big role. It really does.
But it is something you guys look at, because I don't even think they really believe you guys look at it.
Oh,
and I don't mean like study it or spy, but if you're recruiting a kid and they have an Instagram account or they have a Twitter, you're going to see what they're posting.
Yeah, I mean, it's mainly just the language they use, what they're, you know, engaging in, because you see everything, the likes, the retweets. People may not know, like, when you like something, everyone can see what you like. So, I mean, that goes for college coaches too. You see college coaches liking certain things and it's like, whoa, you know, that can be seen, right? So players, it's whatever you're engaging in, it's be careful what you post. If you're emotional, you can't just go on social media to vent. Write down in your journal. Write down your
Pick
emotions.
up the phone, call somebody.
Exactly. I think that's what we've gotten away from, is the relationship of it. Like, there's people in your corner, or just talk. I think we've gotten away from being vulnerable face to face or with our people, that we just automatically hop on these keyboards and just go off. And
anybody, you know, it's funny, anybody who knows me, I'll be the first to admit I'm guilty of it too. And that's why I've tried to, I've mentioned this before. I call Coach Marshall my social media advisor, because she'll tell me when I'm being a little too emotional. So I'm aware of it too. And I think what you said is valid in terms of being vulnerable face to face, and instead of, you know, sharing it with, really, you think you're sharing it with someone, but you're not sharing it with anybody. Yeah. Share it with a real, live, living, breathing person. And that's what I've gotten better at, is talking to somebody, and then you don't really have the desire to post it. So I think that was, you know, a really good point.
Yeah. And I think it just goes back to what our priorities are. So I'm looking at a recruit. What is this recruit's priority? What are they really engaging in? If it's all about this, and I don't see, okay, you know, your family life, I want to see your family life. I want to see if you got pets or something, that's you. That's your real life, right? I think a lot of us, we all fall short. We've all been a part of it, that we're portraying something that isn't really our life, right? We're trying to do things to keep up with the Joneses, right? We're trying to post, you know, all of our offers in every school we're in, to make it seem like, oh, I'm this whole entire image, but in reality, it may not be like that. So when I talk to players and or parents, I'm asking about their life. I'm not really trying to dive into basketball yet. I just want to get to know your life outside of basketball, because that's very important, right? When they get to us at the college level, I want to be able to know the struggles you're having outside of basketball, so I can help you there first. And then that's just going to translate to the court. And so if a player that I'm recruiting is posting, you know, they're having such a hard time, or they're going through a certain situation, talk about it with your parents first, or your coaches first. Don't put it on social media, because now you're giving people the opportunity to scrutinize you, or to, you know, give their opinion, and you may not even know them. You just know them because their Twitter handle, or their IG handle, or whatnot. Talk to the real people in your life first, and try to keep your emotions off of social media. Make social media of the fun things about who you are, so people can know you. It's branding yourself. Who do you want to be seen as? You want to brand that constantly. The way you walk and talk in private should be the way you walk and talk in public. And that goes with social media.
And some good advice I'm gonna take for myself as well.
And I'm a victim of it too. I used to be heavy on social media, just posting whatever, whenever, however. And I realize now that I've grown in my walk with Christ, like, nah, let me chill out on all that stuff, and let me really pour into, you know, what I'm actually all about.
And parents, help your kids with your social media, but don't do it for them. For me, it's really obvious when it's not the kid doing it. Yeah, when the kid, it's so obvious. I know you guys think you're helping. Help them on what to say, but if you say it for them, it becomes really clear that that's not the player or the child doing the posting. So, hey, I personally am so excited that you're back. I'm so excited to be working with you. I've always been a fan, kind of from afar, but just in the last couple of days being in the gym with you, it's been a really good experience. And I know a lot of the kids that we have in our program in particular, but, in the county, because I know knowing you, it's bigger than just any program that you're with. Your mentorship runs really, really deep. So I think San Diego is lucky to have, a child of the city back to mentor, these young ladies. So I'm so excited for all the things you're going to be doing here. I thank you so much for taking the time. I know this is one of those episodes that, a lot of times we have these conversations and it's good back and forth with coaches talking, but sometimes the conversations that we have on here are really impactful for both the players coming up and then also, their parents or their guardians too, because they can learn a lot about the processes and the journey that you went on. Everything that you talked about is everything I was hoping we was going to get out of this conversation, where you're really sharing like you said, you're not even aware sometimes of what the journey you've been on and how many people can learn, from your journey. So I appreciate you sharing some stuff that, might not necessarily been so easy to share. So I'm rambling, but I really, really appreciate all your time and the great conversation we had today.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me. I also am excited to, be back in San Diego to do things like this and help you in this process of the podcast and answering any questions. I'm always available to do this again because, like I said, I do have a lot of experience and I know we can't cover everything in one episode. So if there's any point in time that you would love to have me back, I'm all yours. I'm available just to continue this conversation because it's very important. Sports in general are very impactful in a child's life, and the coaches that come into contact are very impactful, and parents play obviously a huge role in their children's lives with sports. And there's so many things that can fall into this world and distract us that we need to have a good foundation in the lives of people we come into contact with, because we have to take care of each other. It's not just I'm close to you, so I'm gonna roll with you. No, I'm here and I want to be accessible to everybody because I want this foundation. I want our lives and our world to change, but it's, one person at a time, not even one child, it's one person at a time. And if everyone can understand the issues that are going on in sports or just in the world, and we have these face-to-face conversations instead of going on social media to talk about it, it's just going to help. It's going to help us overall. So thank you.
Awesome. Be awesome. I appreciate your time. We went a little bit longer than I hoped, but that's always a sign of a good conversation. And like you said, that means we got more to talk about too. So I'm going to take you up on that offer to talk to you again. And I will see you in the gym. I will see you in the gym real soon.
Yes, always. Thank you.
All right. B, talk to you later. Bye-bye.